Hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, happy Monday. Looking at Survivor Atlas, uh, review some of the week 10, some of the casualties, look ahead at week 11. Also, we'll touch on some features, some new stuff. So, one thing pretty cool exactly 1,000 entries left after week 10. Doesn't really mean anything. It's just cool how exactly 1,000. Make the numbers a little easier this week. So let's look at the leaderboard. Some big names with lots of entries. It's incredible. There's still one player with all 10 entries. It starts with a bet, slam 10 on Chicago. That must have been fun. Oh, man. When Jackson Dart was just cruising every drive, this guy must have been having a bad time, but it all worked out. They have a big advantage on the next players, right? Next one has 6. Thanks, Derek. We've been seeing that name for years playing Circa. So it's kind of cool that someone expressing gratitude for the king of Survivor, Derek. It's cool they're having a good run. So I'm cheering for them. Also interesting, this name is one of the Grandissimo names. They got 5 in Circa. Also, Browna, assuming that's the former champion, Browna, has 5. That's pretty sweet. I like seeing Browna's picks too, because sometimes they'll do some kind of funky stuff that I wouldn't do. So I like seeing that and thinking about it. So yeah, lots of people to follow. I don't know how many people are following different accounts. You see them do something interesting and they want to follow up, see what they do next. Also in this main lobby, we see the availability is already, that's the live availability. Circa should release theirs tomorrow to confirm that this is pretty much truth, but Indy, Denver, they're disappearing. Rams, Buffalo, a little more or a little less, but all on track to be gone, these teams. And there's some important teams, maybe not Arizona. So what's new on Atlas? Let's look at something easy first, just the EV calculator, looking at it with money. So here's week 10. And normally we show the EVs like this, 1.0, 0.9, something like that. But adding a way to convert it to money is interesting. I feel like we should have already had this last year. But it's cool because it helps you like compare EVs from different rounds where the money is different. So like, week 1, you make an EV mistake. Oh, it's $3 an EV. And then week 10, you make an EV mistake and it's minus 1,400. I think, in Survivor, it's not like you can guarantee you're doing plus EV stuff every week. So there's something cool about seeing where you might have cost yourself some short-term EV when the money was small to make it back later when the entries are worth a lot. And of course, the EV numbers aren't everything, right? This EV is just to look at kind of the short term. For example, Carolina, we see it loses 1,400 in EV. That means if there was no more weeks past this current week, if it was just whoever survives chops up the money, then Carolina would be a clear bad pick. But if you've been playing Survivor, in your heart that if Carolina would have won for those entries, it would be strong for those entries because it didn't burn one of the good teams. So saying it's minus 1,400 EV, that's not trying to like summarize the entire decision in a number. That's just looking at the short-term EV. I have never seen a good model for valuing entries for the future. There's lots of metrics. We have metrics that say, good or bad, but it's not like we have a way to say Carolina taking a 1,400 EV hit this week is worth, maybe 1,800 in future value because you get to save up all the other teams. Those are just random numbers, but trying to get a point across. So I think that's cool. It's also, going to Grandissimo, seeing how the chalky entries, what that does to the EV. I think it's pretty revealing. But just want to say, obviously, it's not the entire game. There's more to it than just the EV. If you could guarantee your entry was plus EV all season, like let's say it's before the first week of the year, and the Survivor Genie says, would you just want a positive EV every week without picking? Like, yes, but it's like impossible to actually do in practice. You're trying to set yourself up for that, but it's not like I don't think anyone's ever had a perfect season of plus EV every week. Might be impossible, but that's kind of something maybe interesting to go through the database to try to find something. Okay, next, map. Put this out last week, where when you pick a path on the map, like let's say you went the Jets or the Patriots versus the Jets, and then you maybe went Seattle, and then KC. Okay, so we can see that little path of three choices. Altogether, they're 49% to survive. Those three. That's just 85% times 82% times 70%. That's how we get that number. You can click at it and look at the exact things if you want. But this one is the new cool one. How many entries in this contest, Circus Survivor 2025, can do the exact same three? How many entries have those three teams available? And if you've been using the manifest, you've been seeing numbers like that. You've been seeing, who has Kansas City and Seattle and New England? 59. That's the same answer we were just looking at, right? 59. But building it into the map just makes it so much cooler, right? It just makes the map seem even more alive and dynamic, and it's fun to use. It's straight up fun trying to find paths where you get to the end where it's like, oh, no one has this path. Like maybe this is the path that can scoop all the money. I'm real excited about it. Using it just makes using the map more fun, and I feel like we do stuff at Atlas. We all these tools and contests where we can we can mix stuff together and take stuff from the contest and put it in the tools in ways that other people can't do. And I'm really excited about that feature. It just seems like a breakthrough. I feel like earlier in the year when we added the future colors being different, like seeing these bright ones have odds and these are just projections. I thought that was a great kind of survivor map technology breakthrough. And I feel the same about this new one where you can count how many people are on the paths. It's cool. And it just seems useful. Like for those who saw Game Win and Drive last week, Jamie, we were going through his entries, and one of the paths to get to the end had like 90 other entries that could take it. And of course, getting to the end, it's a good problem. No one's mad about getting to the end, but when you see 90 other people can take the same path, and then you do some other paths and you go, oh, there's only 5 people on those. Yeah, I think it's makes the idea more real about this EV stuff and this unique path stuff that we're always talking about. Like when you can see, oh, there's 2 paths. One is twice as likely to survive, but has, 15 times more people. And you start doing the math. Okay, well, maybe it's fine if I survive less, because when I do win, I can actually potentially win all $18 million. I think that's what everyone should be going for, right? No shade if you're just trying to survive and get to the end. We're all trying to survive and get to the end, but As someone who's got to the end before, it's rare, right? You can't do it every year, but when you make it happen, you want to be alone, or as alone as possible. And I think also we had one more feature. We're still building out this page, so it's not linked. But if you go to survivoratlas.com/history, you can see these charts comparing different circuit contests over time. There's only this one right now. Some options. Log style. Oh shoot. But we got some other stuff cooking for this page. And I think there's maybe lots of angles to compare contests over the years where it'd be nice to see it in one place as opposed to clicking to different contests, writing stuff down, going back to contests, right? So yeah, that'll be more visible coming soon, but you can always go to that link for now. All right, let's talk about week 11. It's Monday. We got projections coming out in about 24 hours from when this video started. This week, it actually seems kind of easy to do the projections for. I'm saying that now, things can change a lot, but it seems kind of easy because there's a few teams that people are considering. The availability is really like going to restrict some people. And of course, we got some important teams, and the kind of less important teams aren't that big of favorites. So thinking about it from just the straight up teams view, 50%, 51% have New England available. They're the big favorite, up to 11.5 now. That line is from 24 minutes ago. So that's a real line. 51% has New England. So how many are going to take them? All of them? Probably not all of them. Comparables, maybe Denver last week, maybe Indy a few weeks ago. Look at those teams. They're picked from available. Do some math. New England probably 30 to 40%, something like that. We'll be more precise tomorrow with what we're saying, but I think they're going to be, let's say, 35. Baltimore, also huge favorites, but Thanksgiving looking good. So that's 71, maybe 20% of them, maybe 140. Green Bay. Green Bay is kind of tricky. Green Bay, they should be way better than the Giants, but just pure ball knowledge, man, it would be the least surprising thing to see Green Bay lose at the Giants, especially if Dart is playing. And it is funny watching that dude play. Like he's good, right? He can make some moves, but he just can't help run downfield, and all the defenders just want to crack him because they think he needs to take some licks or something, right? So I'm gonna pray for him to keep healthy because I want to see him play for years to come. But it is interesting to go against him in Survivor. Green Bay, some people are gonna pick that, maybe 4 or 5%. First guess, I don't know. And then we got Houston. Houston's the first team out of these, big favorite. Playing Tennessee, gotta like that. Mostly available, and their future, it's not incredible. They have a spot that matters a lot, but it's a long way away. So it makes sense. Houston's gonna be plenty popular this week. We'll look at them on the map in a second, but then Buffalo only 20% available against Tampa Bay. I don't think many people are going to be stoked about taking the Bills coming off that big loss against Tampa Bay, who is feisty, right? But there'll be some people picking them, no doubt. And then the next two, both interesting, both for a certain type of person, Pittsburgh and Atlanta. If you're thinking about the field composition, like what kind of players are alive, who's got picks to make. Chicago, if you survived this past week, a lot of people that survived, whether it was picking Chicago or some of the kind of good future favorites, I think those type of plays might be correlated with the type of person who's looking at Pittsburgh and Atlanta here. Because all these teams above, Buffalo, Houston, Green Bay, Baltimore, New England, they all have this future week where you think like that could really kick some butt, saving one of these teams to week 18 or whatever, right? So those should have some popularity. Below that, nothing. There's nothing down here appealing. Minnesota -3. Miami, I guess Miami. Okay, we found a dumpster team that's like worth staring at. Kind of Miami, Washington in the international game. Where is that? Is that like Madrid? Madrid. This one interesting because if you look at the history of it, we've been tracking the power ratings of these teams, and it seemed like Miami would be probably a 4 or 5 point dog. And then over the last few weeks, Miami is now better than Washington. Washington took a deep dive. We got these new power ratings. I think they came out this morning, but tomorrow when the odds for the week 12 come out, the power ratings will be better, like triangulated in a way. So they'll be a little more accurate. Maybe these right now aren't perfect. But using it, Miami up as a small favorite and saving all those teams, got to think some people are going to be doing that. Everyone can consider it basically, so everyone has them available, but it takes a special type of cat to pick some Miami. -2.5 from these other teams, right? So let's just look at them from like the map point of view. New England, they got a bunch of great future spots. They get to host the Giants. They get the last 2 weeks of the year, Jets, Miami, which is cool because some of these spots, for example, Buffalo's last 2 weeks, play Philadelphia, then Jets. And if you're saving the team just for its week 18 spot, you might get into trouble, right? If they sit people or whatever. But New England's cool because both spots after Christmas look like decent favorites. So if you're saving them, maybe you think, week 18, they're once you get to week 17, you think, I don't need them next week. I can just use them this week. And New England playing the Jets week 17, very, very, very likely to be one of the best spots. And availability-wise, you're going to have that scoop value because so many people are going to use them this week. No matter what happens, New England's going to be going towards 0 available, especially after, maybe Cincinnati next week. Maybe that's a good spot. Giants, definitely a good spot. So, there's plenty of reason not to just bang all in New England if you got New England, right? Baltimore, they have this incredible stretch coming up as well. Jets, Bengals, Pittsburgh, Bengals. And one of those games is Turkey Day game, so they're gonna, they're like an important team. They kind of were out of the spotlight for a few weeks, and now they're back. The Thanksgiving, if you're going to be picking them, you really got to have your Thanksgiving situation figured out. There are 4 favorites, right? But Baltimore, the biggest one, seems reasonable. Green Bay, next up, not very available, so maybe not interesting to talk about, but they have plenty of future spots. As far as short-term EV, they'll probably be great because they'll be so much less popular than these other teams, right? If Houston, Green Bay, New England have all about the same win percentage and Green Bay's owned like 10% as much, then you just know there's value coming that way. And Houston at Tennessee. Houston's kind of ticking up lately. Tennessee, they came off their bye. They're not they seem like probably the worst team, right? But Houston, have this week 16 spot, and it might not look that great. The 5th highest projection that week. But all these teams that are supposed to be bigger favorites, these are like the mega strong teams: Buffalo, Lions, Eagles, KC, right? Like, are you going to have these teams? And if you do have them, maybe you need to save one to get through Christmas. And look at the teams below it too: Baltimore, Green Bay, Denver, Indy. These are all like the top 10 teams on week 16 are all going to be very scarce. So is Houston just like the king of that week? You just got to make sure you get them there. That's kind of the consideration for not using them this week, right? If you make it to week 16, you're going to be in a good spot. But week 16 is also funny because if you don't have any of those teams, or if you just can't use a big team because you need to get it through to Christmas, or maybe you just burned all top 10, there's these like 4 or 5 spots in the middle here where you got to think one of them might creep up a little bit bigger favorite. Like Saints hosting the Jets, Miami hosting the Bengals, Minnesota at Giants. Those 3 are really, really available. They're widely available too. So I feel like some people get into that week might burn one of the better teams because they feel safer on those teams. But week 16 is going to be a cool week. It seems really unique compared to other weeks where there's no bias, everyone's playing, and all the good teams just get to beat down someone, is what it looks like. So maybe that affects your Houston pick this week. And then after that, Buffalo, we know they're hot stuff. Pittsburgh and Atlanta, they both have maybe spots. I know if you map, I know personally when I'm mapping, a lot of times I get to the end and I'm just like, I got Atlanta still, so I'm taking Atlanta versus Saints. So maybe you don't want to burn them because of that, but maybe they're crazy popular week 18 because everyone's doing that. I don't know. Also, Pittsburgh, they had the Miami spot that seemed good week 15, which, also is going to be a tough week as it relates to, just surviving and setting yourself up. But Pittsburgh went from a -8 projection to now -5. That's a pretty big swing just for one day, so I don't think people are really banking Pittsburgh for anything. Kansas City seems just like a dumb pick this week, right? Dallas, maybe reasonable pick. Dallas. Although Christmas, we got them as a favorite on the road at Washington now, due to Washington's power rating plummeting. Okay, I think that's enough for today. Thanks for checking this out. Tomorrow, projections 10 a.m. Pacific and 11 a.m. Mikey and I run it back game-winning drive. So check us out. Survivor Atlas. Thanks. Bye.